rectangle has a perimeter of 14 inches and an area of 8 inches squared. Find the dimensions. So what we've already talked about is the fact that when you find area of a rectangle, it's length times width. In this case, that would be x times y. And going back to our paragraph or our sentence about this problem, it tells us we have an area of 8 inches. So that's where our first equation came from, xy equals 8. Our second equation, or the other information that it tells us, is the perimeter. Perimeter is 14 inches. Excuse me. We know that to find the perimeter of a rectangle, you add up x plus y, all the sides, right? So that would be the same as 2x plus 2y. And again, it tells us in the sentence what the perimeter is. So that's where both of our equations come from. Now we've decided to solve this system using substitution, okay? Which means I've got to choose one variable and I need to get it alone. I need to isolate a variable, okay? Do you care which one we isolate? Are there easier ones to choose to isolate than others? Yes, okay. Probably the ones in the first equation are easier to isolate because neither one of them have a multiplier except for the other one, okay? So anybody care if we want to isolating the x or the y? Choose one. X. So we're going to isolate this x. If we isolate that x, how are we going to get the y away from it? Yeah, what's the y doing to the x? It's multiplying, so we have to do the inverse of that to get it away. So I'm going to divide both sides by y. I'm going to get x equals 8 over y. Okay? Any questions about that? So now I'm going to go to the other equation. And I'm going to start writing the other equation, but I'm not going to write the variable x this time because I already know what x equals. So I start writing a 2, and then I should be writing x now, but again, yes, absolutely, it equals 8 over y. Plus 2y equals 14. There's no more x's. If there was any more x's, I'd have to replace it again with y, or 8 over y. Okay? Now I have to figure out how to simplify this equation. So answer this for me. What's the problem with this equation? There's a y in the denominator. That's exactly right. How do I get the y out of the denominator? I need to multiply everything by y. The whole equation, every term, I need to multiply it by y. Okay? Well, I can simplify this a little bit before I even start. That's really 16 over y, isn't it? So what happens if I multiply 16 over y times y over 1? Well, 16 over y times y over 1, what happens to the y's? They get canceled because y divided by y is 1, isn't it? Okay? So I end up with just 16. What happens when I multiply this middle term by y? 2y squared. What happens when I multiply this last term by y? 14y. Now what? Now we need to set it equal to 0. Okay? Now we need to set it equal to 0. And why do we need to set it equal to 0? Because it is a quadratic. Okay? It's a quadratic. So to get this equal to 0, I do need to subtract 14y from both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in standard form when I rewrite it, because that will be just one less step I have to do later. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
So I end up with 2y squared minus 14y plus 16 equals 0. Okay? Now what? No, good guess, but we're not done. We could try to factor it, right? What do you notice, first of all, about each of the 3 terms? Very good. They're all divisible by 2. So if I divide everything by 2, I get y squared minus 7y plus 8 equals 0. So now we want to try to factor. That's what you were saying a minute ago, right? Okay, so tell me what two numbers multiply to be 8 and add to be negative 7.
Negative 8 and 1.
Negative 8 and positive 1 multiply to be negative 8. Negative 1 and 8 multiply to be negative 8.
Negative 1 and negative 8?
Negative 1 and negative 8 add to be negative 9.
I already said that to you.
Be nice. Is it possible that we can't factor this? It is possible. It's not that there's no solution, it's that we can't factor it. It looks like it should be able to be factored, but it can't. When we factor it, or excuse me, when we can't factor it, what should we try next?
Try again.
Use the quadratic formula, right? X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4c.
I can never tell which one is A, B, and C.
Remember that a is always the term with the squared term. B is always the term with the variable that's not squared. And C is always the term that's a constant. There's no multiplier on it.
No.
Okay?
That's it.
So we can do this math in our head, right? We know 4 times 8 is 32, correct? And we know 49 minus 32 is 17, right? So in the past, we've always been able to just say 7 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2 and be done with it. But what we're asking in this question is to find the dimensions. Does 7 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2 make any sense to you at all as in terms of a dimension? About a length? Not at all, right? So what we need to do is we need to take that and put that into our calculator to find an actual decimal. You know what I'm talking about? We need to be able to say 7 plus the square root of 17 over 2. And we need to be able to say 7 minus the square root of 17 over 2.
Why 17?
Say it again. Why do we have to do it twice?
No, I don't want to do it twice.
Because we've got a plus
17
and a minus, right?
17 plus
17, I did 4 times 3 is 32, and then 49 minus 32 is 17. If those aren't numbers you can do in your head, you can put it all straight into the calculator. Okay? So what I got was x equals 5.56 and x equals 1.44. Yeah, we put it right up back up in here because we know, well, like I wrote x and then what I really meant was y, right? That's the variable we're solving for. So I know y, I've got to find x, and I even have an equation that's already solved for x. So I have to say now 8 divided by 5.56. Look what 8 divided by 5.56 is. 1.44. So when x is 1.44, y is 5.56. What is x when y is 1.44? X is 5.56 and y is 1.44. Does it always happen that way? No. I wanted to show you one that did, so you would be aware of it. Okay? Any questions? What you got?
So you multiply 8 by 4, and then subtract it 4 after that?
From right there? That's where I got 17.
And then you divide it by 2.
I said 7 plus the square root of 17 divided by 2, and then 7 minus the square root of 17 divided by 2. And that's where I got these two values right here. Okay? Welcome. Brandon, you good? Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, then let's look at number 5. Take a look at number 5. How is number 5 different than ones we just did? It's a triangle, right? Okay, it's a triangle. So the short leg of a right triangle measures 6 centimeters. The hypotenuse is only 3 centimeters longer than the other leg. Find the lengths. The length of the leg. This is a leg. It doesn't have like these kind of legs. Like that.
Look, the X and the Y look like arms.
It's a turkey.
It's a toiki.
Don't judge my drawing,
Give it a
okay?
It's a toiki.
Give it a what?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hannah's saying x squared plus 6 squared equals y squared. Where in the world did that come from? Her brain, exactly. Where else? Something theory? Anybody got it? It is from the Pythagorean Theorem. That does come from the Pythagorean Theorem. Are you okay with that? Okay, so where's my other equation? So you're talking about area, okay? It's good that you know the area is base times height over 2. Does it say anything in the words, though, about area?
Absolutely not.
Not this time, right? It did last time, and it may on another problem, so you got to keep that in mind. But for this time, it doesn't really help us, but it's a good try.
You got y equals x plus 3.
Where did you get y equals x plus 3?
Well, because y is a hypotenuse and x is the other way is 3. Same as y.
So it tells you the hypotenuse is 3 centimeters longer than the other leg. So the hypotenuse is 3 centimeters longer than the other leg. Is that all right? So how do I solve that?
You just
Well, first step on X.
Do I have to find x first?
Go ahead, substitute some.
I don't have to find x first because I already know y, right? So I know last time we substituted x, but is it okay to substitute y this time? Yes? Okay. So,
x plus 3 and
very good. I'm going to plug x plus 3 in for y. So I've got x squared plus 6 squared. Can I go ahead and write 36? Equals y squared, but I know y is x plus 3 squared. Sorry, the 3 comes right up here from the top. It says the hypotenuse is only 3 centimeters longer than the other leg.
You have to do it
the ones that spell out the number that I was getting there.
Sorry.
So if you if you distribute your 2 here, the x and whatnot,
You mean like this? X plus 3 times x plus 3? Is that what you meant?
that would be. No, I was like x.
But this is how we should do it, right? X plus 3 squared is really x plus 3 times x plus 3? Yeah? Okay. So x times x? X times 3? 3x. And 3 times x is another 3x, which gives me 6x. And then I've got 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay? You see what I'm trying to show you? If all you do is square each term, that's something I've been kind of on your case about all year, right? You can't just square each term. You have to rewrite it twice and then distribute. Yes? Okay? So now what? Oh, sorry. What's up? So we got to get it equal to 0 because it looks like a quadratic, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and subtract this x squared from both sides. Whoa. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
If I subtract an x squared from both sides and that's 0 and that's 0,
So it would be 36.
is it a quadratic anymore? No, so I need all my numbers on one side and all my x's on the other, right? So what's my next step here?
Minus the 6x.
Minus the 9, right? Good.
Then you're in the last
So what do I get?
27.
27 equals
Holy crap.
6x.
I guess like a son of a gun.
Divide both sides by 6.
Yep.
X equals what?
1.5.
4.5. So then I'm done.
No, you gotta do
Whoa.
the Pythagorean Theorem.
I have to do Pythagorean Theorem now?
Yup. Yup.
Just put it
Yeah.
in.
Right?
You can. You can. Yeah, we can put this into the Pythagorean Theorem up here to solve for y. Or I could put this right here to solve for y.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier, but we could do it the other way. I'm not saying you're wrong, okay? But I'm saying probably we could do this a little faster. So what's y? 7.5. So here's the big deal, and I wrote it up here this way, and nobody said anything about it, and I was hoping somebody would say something about it, but since they didn't, we'll talk about it now. How do I write my answer? How have we been writing our answers to a system of equations? Like a point, right? We've been talking the last couple days about how important it is that you guys know that the solution to a system of equations is a point, right? It kind of is, but that doesn't make any sense in this situation, does it? It is asking me for the dimensions. I can't give it a point. I have to say the dimensions. I have to say x equals 4.5 centimeters. And I have to say y equals 7.5 centimeters, right? That's what I have to say, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay? Now, if I write it as a point, it's not wrong, but if you write it as a point right here, I know you don't understand what you're talking about. I know you can plug stuff into a calculator and regurgitate answers back to me. This shows me that you know what we're talking about, that I'm asking for dimensions, a dimension of x and a dimension of y.
Oh.
You okay with that? Any questions? Okay, please circle the following questions. Let's see, let's circle number 6. Let's circle number 8.
That's it.
Let's circle number 10. Let's circle number 11.
Okay.
And we're also going to circle number 3. I skipped over it a minute ago, sorry. So 3, 6, 8, 10, and 11. Okay? Whatever you do not finish in class is homework. So my goal for you is to not have homework, so I need you to work hard through the rest of the period to get it done. Ask me questions if you have questions. I do have the answer key pulled up on my screen, so if you want to come check as you go. Fair enough?
Yes, ma'am.
Some of you can even, some of the people in last period and previous periods have found it helpful to write the system and then come check their system before they go on to make sure they're not just solving a wrong system. Does that make help? Does that make sense? All right. Do you have any questions?
All right.